Okay, this is Unit 1 review, We Do, I Do. So I'm going to go through the We Do side and I'm going to solve these problems. And then when you're done with the video, you're going to do the I Do side on your own. Remember, if you have any questions, you can ask me in class. Okay, number 1 says, what is the solution to, and then we have a multi-step equation. So remember, when we have multi-step equations, our goal is to get the variable by itself. So I'm going to draw my line through the equal sign. And then since I have parentheses, that tells me that this 2 is going to get distributed inside the parentheses, which means to multiply. So I have 2 times d, which is 2d. And then 2 times 5, which is 10. And then I'm going to bring down this -1 and bring down the 3. So now I'm going to combine like terms. So I have 10 and -1, which is 9. So I have 2d plus 9 and then 3. Then I'm going to subtract the 9 over to get rid of it. So I'm left with 2d on this side, and then on the other side, 3 minus 9 is -6. Then I'm going to divide by 2, divide by 2. So I'm left with d is equal to -3. Okay. Okay, number 2 says, what is the solution to? And then again, we have another multi-step equation. So again, I'm going to draw my line through the equal sign. And then notice the parentheses. I'm going to take everything outside the parentheses, so this -5, and I'm going to distribute it in. So I have -5 times 4x, which is -20x. Then I have -5 times -2, which is +10. Now on the other side, I'm going to distribute this -2 inside of this set of parentheses. So I have -2 times 3, which is -6, and -2 times 6x, which is -12x. Okay, now my next step is to get all my x's to the same side. So I'm going to go ahead and add 20x over to the other side. These 20x's cancel, and I'm left with 10 on this side, and then -6, and then -12 plus 20x is going to be a +8x. Okay, then my next step is to add 6 to the other side. Then I'm left with 10 plus 6, which is 16, and then 8x on this side. And then last step, divide by 8 to get x by itself. 16 divided by 8 is 2, so x is equal to 2. Okay, number 3. Again, this is a multi-step equation. So I'm going to draw my line through the equal sign. And again, since I have parentheses, I'm going to distribute this -14 inside the parentheses. So -14 times 3, check on my calculator, is -42a. And then -14 times 6 is -84. And then the other side, I'm going to multiply 12 inside the parentheses. So 12 times 6 is 72. And 12 times -4a is -48a. And then I'm going to bring down this plus 12. Notice on the right side that I can combine these two numbers because they're like terms. So 72 plus 12 is 84. And then I'm going to bring down everything else. I'm going to bring down this -48a, bring down this -42a, and then this -84. Okay, then I want to get my a's to one side, so I'm going to add 48a to the other side. So negative 42 plus 48 is 6a. Then I'm going to bring down the negative 84 and bring down the positive 84. Okay, then I'm going to add this 84 to the other side, so I get all my numbers on one side. So 84 plus 84 is 168. So I have 6a is equal to 168. So then I'm going to divide by 6. And 168 divided by 6 is 28. So that means a is equal to 28. Notice we went through a lot of steps here, but the most important is that we took the number outside of the parentheses and we distributed in. Once we distributed, we combined like terms. Then we brought all our a's to one side and all our numbers to the other. Okay. So now let's look at number 4. Number 4 says what is the solution set of, and it gives us an inequality. Remember, we solve inequalities the same way that we solve multi-step equations. So I'm going to draw my line. My goal is to get all the x's to one side. So I'm going to go ahead and add this 5x over here. Add 5x. So that means these 5x's cancel, and I'm left with negative 3. And then negative 3x plus 5x is 2x, and then this plus 6. Then I'm going to subtract the 6 so I can move it over to the other side. And now I have negative 3 plus negative 6, which is negative 9, and then 2x over here. My last step is to divide by 2. Divide by 2. Notice that I divided by a positive number, so my sign is going to stay the same. So that means my answer is negative 9 halves is greater than x. That's my answer. Okay, so let's go ahead and look at number 5. Same thing, we're going to treat this like a multi-step equation. So right here, notice that this minus sign is attached to the 2. So this is actually a negative 2. We're going to take this negative 2 and we're going to multiply it in since we have the parentheses. So I'm going to distribute these in. So I have negative 2 times x, which is negative 2x, and negative 2 times 1, which is negative 2. Then I can bring down this 1 and bring down everything else on the other side. So my next step is to combine like terms. I have a 1 and a negative 2. So 1 minus 2 is negative 1. Bring down the negative 2x. Bring down the other side. Now my goal is to get all the x's to one side. So I'm going to add 2x. Add 2x. These ones cancel and I'm left with a negative 1. And then 3x plus 2x is 5x. Bring down the negative 6. Then I'm going to add this 6 so I can get all my numbers onto one side. So negative 1 plus 6 is 5. And then I bring down this 5x. My last step to get x by itself is divide by 5. Notice again that I am dividing by a positive number. Since I'm dividing by a positive number, my sign does not change. So I'm left with 1 is less than x. That's my answer. Okay, so that was problems 1 through 5. So let's take a look at number 6. Number 6 says Miss Rojas is solving the equation below. Where is her first mistake appear? So when we have these type of problems, the easiest way is just to go ahead and just solve it on our own. So I'm going to pretend that these steps are not even there, and I'm going to go solve it on my own off to the side. So I have 2 plus 2 parentheses, x plus 4 equals 12. So if I was solving this on my own, my first step would be to distribute. So I have 2 times x, which is 2x, and 2 times 4, which is 8. Bring down this 2, and bring down the 12. Okay, so that was my first step. The next step is to combine like terms. So I have 2 and 8, which is 10, plus 2x, bring down the 12. Then I'm going to subtract my 10 to get all my numbers on one side. So I'm left with 2x on this side and 12 minus 10, which is 2. Lastly, I'm going to divide by 2, and I get x is equal to 1. Obviously, that's not what she got, so let's check our steps. Notice in my first step, right here, I got 2 plus 2x. That's what she got, 2 plus 2x. But then I got plus 8. That doesn't match hers. And then I got 12. So since this part does not match, that means her mistake first appeared in step 1. Then it says explain what should have been her correct step. So what she forgot to do is she forgot to take this 2 and multiply it by the 4, and she just brought it down. So her mistake was that she didn't distribute properly. So didn't distribute properly. Okay. Good. Let's look at number 7. Number 7 is a word problem. It says a taxi company charges a fee of $3 for using the taxi and 75 cents for each mile driven. How far can you travel if you have $54 in your wallet? So remember when we were doing word problems, we learned the acronym CUBES. So I'm going to write that off to the side, CUBES. Remember, the C in cube stands for circle the numbers. So I'm going to go through each part here and I'm going to circle all the numbers. So C was circle the numbers. So I have $3, 75 cents, and then 54. Okay. U was underline important keywords. So some important keywords here is the word and, which means plus, and the word for each, which tells us that mile is our variable, which I'm going to label M. Okay, so next is to box the question. What are we looking for? Our question is, how far can you travel if you have $54 in your wallet? So our question is, how far can we travel? So we are actually looking for miles. We don't know that. Okay. Next is to write an equation. So our equation, it says our initial fee is $3. That's our initial fee. And, which we said was plus, 75 cents for each mile driven. Remember, mile we said was M, for a total of $54 in her pocket. So this is our equation. So from here, what we now need to do is solve. We're now going to solve. Okay. So this is just a two-step equation. So first I'm going to subtract 3. And then I have 75 miles, 75 cents per mile is equal to 51 because 54 minus 3 is 51. And then my last step is just to divide by that 75, that 0.75. So 51 divided by 0.75 is 68. So I'm left with M equals 68. Remember, my last step is to write a sentence. So my sentence is going to be that they can travel 68 miles. Okay, we're almost done. Let's look at number 8. Number 8, again, is another word problem. So we're going to have to follow cubes just like we did before. So remember, our C in cube stands for circle the numbers. So I'm going to circle all the numbers that I see. Okay. Then I'm going to underline some keywords. So keywords here, flat rate, means it's only going to happen one time. So that is not going to be where our variable is. Okay, the word plus obviously means addition. And then this per right here tells us that the word mile is again our variable. And I'm just going to label that M. Then lastly, we have the word at most. At most tells us that this is an inequality. Remember, the word at most is going to be less than or equal to. So now that we have everything here, we need to figure out what we're trying to find. And the question here is, how far can she travel if she only has $10 to spend? So at most, meaning she can spend less than $10, she can spend $10, but she cannot spend more than $10. Okay, so let's go ahead and write that equation. Our equation is going to be 1.75 because that's the flat rate, plus 0.65 m is less than or equal to 10. Okay, so now we just need to solve this two-step inequality. So first I'm going to subtract 1.75. So $10 minus $1.75 is $8.25. So I'm left with 65 cents M and then $8.25 on this side. Then I'm going to divide by 0.65 to get M by itself. So 8.25 divided by 0.65 is approximately 12.69. So I'm going to write that over here, 12.69. Notice I did not divide by a negative number. Since I did not divide by a negative number, my sign stays the same. So I'm left with M is less than or equal to 12.69, which means that she can travel about 12.69 miles. She can travel about 12.69 miles. Okay. So if she had to travel more than that, she would not be able to afford it since she only has $10. So no more than 12.69 miles. Okay, last two questions. Notice that these two questions are literal equations. Remember, in literal equations, we are trying to solve for whatever variable they're asking. So on number 9, it says solve for y, meaning we need to get y completely by itself. So if I'm getting y by itself, I notice that CX and D are all in the way of y. We need to get rid of those letters first. So I'm going to subtract CX to both sides. Notice that we don't know what these numbers are, so I can't combine them in any way. So E minus CX is just going to be E minus CX. I don't know what they are. They're not the same variable, so I have to leave them that way. Bring down my negative dy. Then I'm going to divide by negative d, divide by negative d. That way I get y by itself, and I'm left with y equals E minus CX over negative d. That's my answer.